Wow, it is cold.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Drainage Board meeting for Wednesday, October 5th. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. And our first business from the agenda is the approval of the September 7th, 2022 regular meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion we approve those minutes as submitted.
Second, any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and the motion passes. Zach?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First project we have on the agenda today is the Heartland Storage of Lafayette by Global Engineering Land Surveying, and I think someone's here to present today. Yep.
Hello, my name is Patrick Gill, representing the ownership of the Heartland Storage.
Yeah, are you prepared to go over the design?
Yeah, not a problem. Yeah, so what we're doing over there is we are taking kind of the open space in the back of our property that was previously rock in the past, and we're extending that a little bit further to the north and installing 3 covered RV parking. So just top floor covered, not folded over, not covered storage. There is existing pond already on site that meets, based on local calculations, meets the requirements for putting covered storage on that. So we're not growing the pond at all, it's basically staying the base the same. We're removing the trees recovery. Our site is mainly mostly this overgrowth over the years and stuff that's kind of grown up. For the most part, it's kind of cleaning up the site, kind of getting it to a little higher standard. So, pretty straightforward, nothing crazy, it's just a column base with the roof. Everything's draining kind of to the same spot that's always been draining. And nothing's really changed.
Very good. Thank you, Pat. Just real quick, I do want to mention basically piggybacking off what Pat said, this is a redevelopment site, and there is existing pervious surface there, and so basically they're trading existing impervious surface, asphalt, concrete, for rooftop on 3, as he just described, RV sheds, basically. The drainage patterns on the site are staying the same. They are utilizing the existing detention area. It is in compliance with the ordinance, is the short version, and so there are no no variances, and I would be happy to recommend approval as stated on the September 29th, 2022 review memo, and it is a conditional approval because they need to take care of a couple items on the SWIP, which is the Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but recommend approval.
Any questions from the board?
No.
Anyone from the public wish to comment on the project?
I'll make a motion we grant conditional approval for the Heartland Storage of Lafayette project. Oh,
I believe we resubmitted to you possibly, maybe not time to meeting, the conditions that you outlined for the SWIP. I think this needs one drawing for the case.
Yes, I believe that's what the memo says. It was submitted, I think, as a separate document. It all needs to be in one document. There may have been a couple other things, but yeah, I do believe there was a resubmittal, but I don't know that it came in time to be reflected on this memo, but it will be addressed. If it hasn't been submitted, please make sure that it is, but please do, yes.
okay. I'll make a motion we grant conditional approval for the Heartland Storage of Lafayette project per the Burke memo dated 9/28.
Second, any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and the motion passes. Thank you.
Pat, just real quick, was there a sign-in sheet there for you to sign in? Okay, if you would, please sign in with Ryan over there. That way we got your correct name and spelling for the minutes. Thank you. Okay. Okay, good.
Okay, next, Zach.
Yep, so next we have a petition. This is a petition to partially vacate branch 12 of the S.W. Elliott Regulated Drain, number 100, submitted by Creekview Professional Center, LLC. Myself and staff have reviewed the petition and exhibit, find no problems, and would recommend approval. And as a side note, this is an existing site that was approved by the Drainage Board, I believe, in the 90s. For some reason, we couldn't find any mention in the Drainage Board meeting minutes and/or the project file of where a petition to vacate this small segment of tile. And so this is a cleanup that was requested by either the buyer or the seller's attorney. I think it was the buyer's attorney. And so we are following through with that. Happy to answer any questions, but I recommend approval.
Okay, thank you, Zach.
I'll make the motion, we grant that permission to partially vacate as stated.
Second, any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes.
Very good, thank you.
Do we have any public comment?
Was Nick Miller available for comment on the Saw Homestead subdivision drainage issue? Yeah.
Good morning, Nick.
Good morning.
Right.
My name is Nick Miller. I'm the president of the Saw Homestead Homeowners Association here in Tippecanoe. It has been brought to my attention that one of the neighboring property owners. There's a button and the red light on that should show up.
There you go.
There we go. My apologies. It's been brought to my attention that one of the neighboring property owners, again, has brought some issues to light regarding our detention pond. This detention pond was cleaned out. I don't have my notes in front of me because, unfortunately, I just came here from work very quickly, so I don't have all of my materials with me. That detention pond was cleaned out. Zach, you might have to help me out. Like 7 years ago, 6 years ago, we had all the siltation removed.
Yeah.
The output pipe was uncovered. It was then unclogged. I have been down there probably once every 3 months to see what the status is of that detention pond. We do have accumulation of siltation again. That was brought up to the Homeowners Association 2 years ago, and we started to put out for bids to have a company come out and clean out that siltation again and have it removed, not just put up at the side, but actually removed like we did last time. Then the world kind of came to a screeching halt, and nobody was available to do any work down there due to COVID. We have not had an opportunity yet to discuss having another company come out and take a look at that. Our Homeowners Association meeting is next month. We did set aside at our last, not the last homeowners meeting, but the one prior to that, so a year and a half ago, we did start setting aside additional funds from dues to make sure that we can take care of the siltation and removal of that siltation down there in the detention pond, rather than having to do a special assessment like we did many years ago. I understand Mr. Leal's position. Thankfully, when the county came through and cleared out the water pathway next to County Road 50, once that was deepened and actually cleared over to the drainage pipe that goes underneath 50, that prevented the water from going over County Road 50. Mr. Leal's claim that it's either the county hitting a gravel bed or our detention pond causing the flooding in his yard is I'm currently looking at the DNR GIS map of the floodplain. Easily 80% of his property is within the floodplain. So I mean, yeah, he's going to get additional water in his yard when it rains. Whether our detention pond is to blame for that, I wouldn't think so. The output from that pond is limited by the size of the output pipe. And no point that I have been down there during heavy rains, and I will have to take some pictures, and I'd be more than happy to take pictures and bring those to the next meeting. You can clearly see where the high water marks have been in our detention pond, and they've come nowhere near the overflow spillway. So the detention pond is indeed limiting the amount of water going through there, which is limited by the size of the output pipe. Other than that, yes, it probably flows through a little sooner than it would with the siltation in there. Of course, it reduces the space from the bottom of the detention to the output pipe, but it's not going to change the amount of water that actually comes out that pipe. So basically, it's a work in progress. We're not neglecting it. From my conversations with other people on the drainage board, there are many, many privately owned detention ponds and privately maintained detention ponds that go without attention for years and years. So basically, I'm just here to state that it's always a work in progress. We're not neglecting it. We are attempting to stay on top of it, and after our meeting next month, our homeowners association meeting, we will have more information on when we will be able to address the issue. Now, that's also dependent upon other factors of how dry it is, how frozen the soil is, when we can actually get a company in there to remove that siltation. But it is a priority of ours, and we attempt to get it taken care of as soon as possible.
Very good. Nick, first of all, thank you for coming today and providing an update to the board. So as a recap, first, this has been an ongoing situation for approximately going on 3 years, I guess. It originally started, I think, in 2019, right before the pandemic. And I have spoken to Nick several times on the phone and via email. Recently, as in earlier this year, I'd say 3 to 6 months ago, I don't remember exactly when the first contact was made, but Mr. Lyle, the immediate downstream landowner, reached out to my office and to the commissioner's office asking what the update was. And so he basically was claiming, and still is claiming, and made the claim at last month's meeting, that no work has been done since that initial conversation there in 2019, 2020. I think it was in June and July of 2019 is when everyone was before the Drainage Board. So that's the current status. As far as, and I want to state this again for clarity, as far as myself as the county surveyor and the county drainage board, as it stands right now, this is a private matter. It's a private homeowners association, private residential lots. It's a private detention basin. It's a private adjoining downstream landowner, which basically means, at least from the county surveyor's perspective, as it states at the moment, there's very little legally I have the ability to do other than facilitate it. And then Nick, you and I have spoke briefly about this, and I informed Mr. Lyle of that also. So at the moment, myself and I think the actions taken by the board, at least to date, and I don't know what will happen as this meeting goes on, but to date, my thought process has been to let it, or allow it to take its natural course and remain private, and let the folks there in your community handle this situation, right? Because it's usually better if the government and Big Brother can stay out of it, and the folks that live there can take care of your situation. So I'm happy to continue that process. I think the stumbling block or the heartburn with Mr. Lyle has been, well, okay, and he pretty much told me this when I was talking to him. He's like, well, Zach, I understand that and appreciate that, but it's been 2 years. How long are we going to give him? So he has some issues with the amount of time that it's taking, and I can appreciate that. I was asked a few weeks ago, I believe by Commissioner Byers, if it was a county-regulated drain, how long would it take me and my staff to have it done? And within a couple weeks, maybe. I mean, we'd have it turned around very quickly. So from that perspective, I think a sense of urgency is due. I have not personally looked at it for quite some time, so I don't know what has changed since 2019 when myself and staff originally looked at it. So I don't know how you would want to handle that. I would say for the Drainage Board's information, and Nick, for you and your residents, and Mr. Lyle, if it were a county-regulated drain, I will explain how I would handle that internally, okay? And you guys and your residents and the folks you represent can do with this information as you see fit. But if it were a county-regulated drain, the first thing we would do is pull the construction plans, the drainage calculations, look to see how it was designed, right? And we would look for as-built plans, which I did all this early on when we first started looking at this. Okay, so that information is available. The next thing I would do is make a site visit. The next thing I would do, depending upon what the site visit indicated, which if memory serves me correctly, there was some erosion around the control pipe, the outlet control pipe, there was siltation. So more than likely, cross-sections of the pond, so basically ground elevations on a grid across the pond. That would allow you to do some volume calculations to determine how much it's actually silted in, and then that would in turn tell you the decrease in storage capacity of that detention basin per the original design.
Right.
Because that then would allow you to make another calculation, as in, does any downstream landowner have a sufficient claim that water is being released either uncontrollably or at a higher rate in which it was designed? And without that information, it's very hard to make that to discern that information because it's highly technical and you have to have numbers to be able to show it. The reason why I bring this up is because then that in turn allows you to get good numbers from contractors because they know the quantity of silt that needs to be removed, and so then that obviously impacts the cost, and so you know have more accurate costs, and then also you protect yourself from any downstream landowner claiming that you're damaging them, right? So that's how myself and my staff would look at it. However, I can't do that the way it sets right now because it is a private matter, okay? But I'm just sharing that information because
Which I appreciate.
That's how we would attack it if that's what. Now, with that being said, last month, Mr. Lyle was basically asking this body for information, and I'm not going to speak for Mr. Masson as a Drainage Board attorney, but I know Doug provided some alternative solutions possibly, one of which is what's called a petition of obstruction order. And so I'm mentioning this for Nick, you and your residents that you represent, because if Mr. Lyle decides to file that, that is solely his discretion, okay? I have no control over that. That's
Right.
within the Indiana Drainage Code. If he chooses to do that, then there are some things he has to do, as in notifications and so on and so forth. But as long as he follows those, he could very well submit that to my office on behalf of the Drainage Board, and then that kicks myself as the county surveyor and my office into a legal stance per code, and then I have to follow certain criteria within the code, okay? Much of which I just outlined as what we would actually do.
Right.
And then I'd give a report back to the board, and that's what would happen. So that's kind of the full body of work. I just kind of wanted to recap, let everyone have the information. I don't know what the board's feelings are as far as timeline. I'm going to turn it over to them, but I just want to make sure everybody has the information, at least that I know to date. I think I've covered everything. If I forgot something, somebody please ask me. But I'm happy to answer any questions, but I wanted the board to have the information.
And Zach, the pictures that were shared at the last meeting, were those from 2019 or were
Yes.
those more recent?
No, those are from
Okay.
19, yeah. That was
Okay.
from our original, oh yeah, Ryan's got them, yeah. Those were from 19, yeah.
Yeah, and that, the trees that were at that time near the spillway and the output pipe were actually cut down and removed during the pandemic. The root ball was probably within 15 feet of the spillway, and the tree was hung up on adjacent trees. We went down there, went ahead and removed that for fear if the tree went down the rest of the way, the additional weight on the spillway would cause damage, so that was removed.
Nick, we were bouncing around photos there. You're saying that these trees around this outlet control pipe was removed?
No, this is the downhill side of the output pipe next to
Yeah.
County Road 50.
So you're on the other side?
Yeah, the other
okay.
side.
Okay.
I think if you go back to the other picture that was there that showed the down tree,
This one?
yeah, the spillway is directly to the right.
So, yeah, it's in
Yeah,
this general area.
yeah,
And then am I seeing water there or is that silt?
that's silt.
Yeah, that's silt, Tom.
It's mucky silt.
Huh.
There we go. Yeah, this area in here is all silt.
So did you say what is the neighborhood's plan then to address the silt?
We had, I'm trying to remember the name of the company, and it's escaping me right now. We had a excavation company come out 7 years ago, and they returned the entire detention basin back to the original design plans. All of the siltation that was there at the time, there's the uprooted tree. The majority of the siltation that was there was assumed at the time to have been from construction further up in the neighborhood, and through the rains, it was brought down from that construction down to the detention pond. It was hoped that we would only have to address that like once every 9, 10 years. Unfortunately, there has been a lot more siltation put downstream than I expected. Of course, we can't control that. The only thing we can do is go in and try to clean up afterwards. But
So you do not have a contractor
lined up for that
lined up
currently?
to
No,
do
we do
this?
not. No.
And does the HOA have the funding to do this?
Yes, we
project?
do.
Okay.
Yes, we've set aside the funds to take care of this project.
So can you commit to a timeline of when that's going to be done?
I can commit to the timeline of when we will sign a contract with somebody. Now, how long it will take them to go out there and risk getting their equipment stuck, that's entirely on them. But, I mean, yes, I we'll gladly have a contractor signed within, our meeting is next month, the beginning of November. I would be able to commit to having a contractor signed within 2 weeks after that meeting. Unfortunately, as the president of a body of a homeowners association, I can't make those decisions myself. I have to take that to everyone else. But absolutely. I mean, this has been something that we had committed to prior to the pandemic, and everything just stopped. There was nothing we could do.
And then after after your HOA meeting, can you communicate with Zach's office
I
as
absolutely
to
will.
when that's been done, and then keep them updated as to when that contractor thinks they can be
Yep.
on site?
I've tried to keep contact with Zach's office as much as possible, and between working and kids and everything else, it's always a challenge, but I believe we've had pretty open channels of communication.
Yeah, I confirm that, yeah.
And-
Nick's done a good job communicating.
And Zach, you're pretty confident now that that tree has been removed, that the removal of the silt will take care of the issue? Is that the only?
I would not go as far as saying that, no.
Okay.
But because first of all, I don't know what has changed since 2019 when we
Okay.
looked at it. And secondly, I don't know exactly off the top of my head what the design plans indicated. And then number three, I don't know how much silt is in there. So somebody would really need to do an evaluation and probably take some elevations to know for
I see.
sure. Yeah.
Okay.
When is it's the first Wednesday of each month? Is the
Generally
meeting?
speaking, yes.
So when is-
Some months, that's not true because of conferences or some
Okay.
other conflict.
What is the current scheduled date for November?
Ryan, do you have that readily? I think, actually, hold on, I got my phone right here. Yeah, there you go.
Given the nature of this particular issue, I will have our homeowners association meeting advanced, and we will hold it at the end of this month. So I will have information for you before that meeting. I don't want to drag it out 2 months down the road just in case Mr. Lyle does decide to take this farther. I want information for you guys as soon as possible, and honestly, I'd like to have the information for the rest of the homeowners also, so we can have a timeline on when it can be taken care of.
Nick, I would say this real quick, and I did hear what you said. And as far as you may not have the ability to make a decision as far as getting a contractor out there, and I understand that and appreciate that. But what I wanted to say is this: if there is any way that you could expedite it as far as getting the contractor out there and looked at it and get them on schedule, the sooner the better. The reason why I say that is because I'm sure everybody will appreciate when I say this. All the creeks and rivers are very low. It hasn't rained in a while. It's very dry. Now would be a very opportune time to take care of that. Wait until November and it starts to rain, and November, December, it may be tough the longer you wait. So,
I will make contact with contractors by the end of this week.
yeah. So I just, food for thought, but.
I will, today is Wednesday. I will make contact by the end of the week, and I will actually contact you and let you know which
Okay.
companies have been contacted and what
Okay.
their projected timeline would be to do that.
Very good. That would be very much appreciated, because that way if Mr. Lyle reaches out to me, I have information so I can show him and say, hey, look, this is what they've done. Here's who they contacted, so on and so forth. So
And
thank you.
I appreciate that advice. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Any other business to be brought
Very
forward?
good. Just one quick thing, we are working in tandem with the County Highway Department to finish the Moses Baker regulated drain tile project. The last piece of that puzzle is the replacement of the tile underneath County Road 1000 South, and I've been coordinating with the Highway Department and our contractor because NDOT was using 1000 South as a local detour because of the State Road 28 project, and that is wrapped up, and so we're working to get that taken care of. So
Is that the reason for the closure? It is. Okay. Tomorrow,
So this,
one day.
yeah, one day, that's right. Yeah, that should, yeah, it should be all they need. So, but I just wanted everybody to know that because it's coming soon. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but that's all I have today.
Great. Anybody from the public wish to comment?
Motion to adjourn.
We are adjourned. And I believe we have some paperwork to sign.
That was perfect timing, huh?